Good morning. We are on day 10. Yay! Look at us cruise through this, a third of the way there, through November. So today, yesterday we talked about our temptations and what triggers us. And so today, what you're going to do is it says, now that you have identified your temptations, we're going to pray and ask God to transform you. And then you'll write out your prayer and what you hear Him saying to you. And the transformation that we're looking for is from Romans 12, verses 2 through 3. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, His good, pleasing, and perfect will. Okay, so what I did, because so you have this verse, transforming your mind to do not conform to the patterns of this world. And so I thought, well, you know what? Let's see what those patterns are. And so I just did a chat GPT. It's so handy, isn't it? And so let's just talk about some of these ways that maybe we have conformed to the pattern of the world and not with God. And so this might help you kind of jog your brain, because the way we living, I think especially in the culture that we live in now, everything is so easily accessible. We carry around a computer in our hand, so we can see anything and everything pretty much at all times. We can get anywhere. We have easy transportation. Even with some of the airport issues, still, in reality, think about it. We can get places pretty quick. And so we have this like instant gratification lifestyle. I remember we had hurricane force winds and stuff on the coast. It was a horrible storm, and we lost power for like a week, and everything was down. Trees were down. It was an epic storm, and my kids were very little at the time, and so no power. Fortunately, we still had gas, and so we had a little tiny gas stove in the living room. And so I just kind of brought the kids, we all into that space, so that way it was warm. And in order to cook, I had this little gas that took forever. But because of my upbringing, I'm pretty, my parents and brothers and sisters taught me how to, bake and cook and from scratch and do all the things. So I was I'm pretty self-sufficient in that way. So I started cooking dinner like that morning because I knew the stove took so long to cook. So I got my crock pot thing and just sat it on there. Um, and so everything cooked just slowly, but I could have us a good meal. And I remember Levi looking at me. He's like, Mom, hey, can we, let's play. Because now he's got Mom's undivided attention because I can't really do anything. And he's like, hey, what are we going to do? Can we play this? Can we play that? And I was like, no. I was like, I have to start dinner. It was like 8 o'clock in the morning. And I just had this flash of like, whoo, wow, like Laura Ingalls, things were different. Like you had to start dinner at 8 o'clock in the morning. You had to prepare all that stuff. Now we today in our life, we don't need to do that. There are still areas of the world that do, but for us, yeah, we really really don't need to do that. Everything is just instant, here, ready, go. And so it's easy to conform to the patterns of this world and get lost in it by the convenience of everything. So let's read some of these that ChatGPT gave us. Okay, so the first one was chasing success the world's way. So defining your worth by status, money, beauty, or performance. You compromise your integrity to get ahead. Seeking validation through followers, likes, or applause rather than God's approval. And that one kind of hits, social media. Yeah, if we are seeking our validation through that, then we are definitely conforming to the patterns of this world, because that's a big thing. Influencer, it just still blows my mind that people get paid because they influence. Do you even hear how like bad that is, like how like not like it just I mean, unless we're influencing them for Jesus, but I'm pretty sure that the majority of influencers are not getting paid um, for that. So the next one is following popular opinion instead of God's word. And I think this one's another tough one. Um, we allow the culture and media to define our morality and truth, and I think that's a tough one with the way the news is today and everything going on in the world. You can watch a few videos, and it can really get you to judge things in an improper way. Like I was talking to a friend. She has friends and family that live in New York, and they're believers and Christians and everything, but they're not worried about the new mayor. Whereas you see a lot of the media and videos and stuff like that, and people are like fearful and freaking out and everything else. So, what's the truth? So, we can be influenced very quickly by some 30-second reel. Um, and so, I think we have to just be careful of getting stuck in that space. Um, and I love, they say softening biblical convictions to avoid rejection or conflict. And that's another one that's also a tough one with all the policies that are going through, with all the things that are being taught in schools. Where do you stand? Can you stand? You know, and the thing is it's standing for God, but not in a combative um, way. And so there's a fine line, but it starts with the transforming of our minds. It starts with that renewing of our minds, making sure that God is foremost in our minds, not the stuff of the world. And if you can continue to get your mindset right with God's love, then that will start coming out of your mouth instead of the other things. And then you also won't have this double-mindedness. um, People will see that you do have that true conviction and love of Jesus first, and then they will feel that love. Um, Self-centered living was number 3. And let's see, prioritizing comfort, pleasure, and self-fulfillment over serving others. Number 4 is thinking like the world thinks, worrying constantly instead of trusting God. I love that one. Harboring bitterness, comparison, or pride. Measuring life by what's seen rather than by faith. And I think that's a tough one. This world is filled with worries, and it's easy to get sucked into that. That's one of the other trains we'll talk about, is the worry train. Because there is so much going on. There's so much hurt. There's so much, even like natural catastrophic events that are happening, floods and fires and earthquakes. And it's devastating to see the loss. And so you can get trapped into this worry of not wanting to go out and do certain things or go to certain places. But that's not what God wants. So having that space to truly trust God for everything, trust God, and to know He's taking care of your children when you send them off on trips and out the door every day to drive a car, all of those things, trusting God and not getting on that worry can be tough. So that's when you gotta, for me, sometimes you really gotta combat that. Number 5 is blending in instead of standing out. So you stay silent about truth to avoid being labeled judgmental or too Christian. Adopting worldly entertainment, speech, or habits that desensitize the heart. Oof. So, like, what is it you're watching? What is it you're listening to? That can really jade you into softening your convictions. And so that's another one to be careful of. Trusting in material things, finding security in possessions, savings, or careers instead of God's provision. Overworking to maintain a lifestyle rather than resting in God's care. Resting in God's care. That's awesome. So these are just these the worldly pattern versus the godly pattern. And so you can just see the difference, the pull, the tension. And I'm sure that there are days, there's days that I just live in like this tension, and you're like, what is this? And that's the stress, the anxiety, that tension of pulling. And He's renewing you, He's renewing me, He's renewing our minds. And so there's things like maybe music I used to listen to, or movies or TV shows I used to watch, and I watch them now, and then I start to feel like this tension of like, this isn't right, because God's just renewing me more and more and conforming Him more to His pattern and pulling me out of the world's pattern. We can live in this world. We are to live in this world. We are to be very active in this world. We are to be business owners, teachers, politicians, working in government, doctors, lawyers, nurses, uh, electricians, plumbers. I mean, He wants us in this world working and being with people, but we can't. That's where we have to renew our mind and stay in line with God, even though we're in the world. And so that's where this comes in. So it's not about being in our little godly bubble, it's being in the world, but not of the world. Um, we got one more. The last one that ChatGPT gave me was neglecting the spiritual for the superficial. It says, filling life with noise, busyness, and distraction, leaving no room for God's presence. Oof, and prioritizing outward appearance over inward character. Oh, okay. So those are great. Those are great mic drops to end this. Good old number 7. Are you filling your life with noise and busyness and distraction? I mean, what are you being distracted? I have this great quote by Bob Goff. It's, whatever constantly distracts us will eventually define us. So what is distracting you? Because that is how people will see you, by your distractions. So if you're constantly distracted by your phone, that's what your kids see. They see that distraction. Are you distracted by, like, are you so into a sport or a college team or an NFL team or whatever the team, whatever it is? Are you so like in like that, you're narrowed in like that becomes your priority over other things? Like, you can't do this family thing because of this game. you know that's a huge distraction. Like, that's, really kind of take that to God and be like, what are my distractions? Where am I getting lost? And then leaving no room for God's presence. I hear all the time, and I've said it myself, you just so desperately want to hear God's voice. Like, what is He asking me to do? What is He telling me to do? But we can't hear Him if our world is loud. We can't hear Him if we don't quiet our brains and our minds and our hearts and just truly pause and meditate on Him and His Word. You'll never hear Him if you just keep distracting yourself by stuff, by things, by noise. So this is what we're going to do. We are going to write out our prayer. And then I love the last thing, prioritizing outward appearance over inward character. Sometimes we spend so much time on this that we're not spending the time on our hearts. And that goes back to the distraction. You're so distracted by other things. And so let's pause. Let's do our exercise. Okay? Pray and ask God to transform you. Because my hurts, distractions, busyness, all of that is different than yours. And that's the thing. So I'm going to do this too. I'm going to sit down and be like, write out my prayer. Okay? And what is He telling me? What areas of my life do I need to change? Where am I getting distracted? Where am I wasting time? Or things are too loud that I can't hear Him. And so that's what we're going to do. We're going to transform our minds And we're going to get out of the pattern of the world and get into alignment with God and what He's calling us to do and asking us to do. So, this is a good one. Sit down, write out your prayer, and let's see how God is going to change you, move you into relationship closer with Him. Have a good day. Happy Monday. Woohoo! Monday, we're going to start off strong.